the average person is an insult. The common person means that we're all common, community. The common person is never brought into these rooms to say, well, what's your take on this? Or how do you feel about that? What's your opinion on labor mobility, which is set up to drive costs lower in the community? And we as communities need to look at, well, what do we want? Do we want perpetual homeless? Do we want people continuously on the streets? Food banks that are not stocked because, there's no money from the community because everybody else is broke? Yeah, I think this economy and the depression that we're going into, if it's done right, could be a positive. But that's only if it's done right, and it's only if it's the right people get involved. The problem is, as I'm sure you're all aware, is that everybody says that's not my problem. Well, I'm not getting involved. Somebody else can look after it. We need to take responsibility. We need to take responsibility for our neighborhoods and our schools and what's going on around us. Because if we're not going to take responsibility, we can't expect the guy next to us to take responsibility or take responsibility in a way that's in the best interest of the community. And we've seen by their actions, by the elite's action and the financial backers' actions, that their best interest doesn't have a lot to do with what's the best interest of the community.
Yeah, this is a slightly different question. It's about Barack Obama. I am just wondering if you know anything about the U.S. public or the American public asking him or telling him to repeal a lot of the laws that were passed by George W. Bush, such as the Patriot Act and also the closing down of Guantanamo Bay and issues like that. I'm just wondering if Barack Obama is planning on repealing these laws or getting rid of the Patriot Act.
I think what really needs to be understood in that question is that, one, Barack Obama sat on the Senate for 143 days. Two, during those 143 days that he was sitting on the Senate, he was a member of the Patriot Act Committee. So he sat on the committee for the Patriot Act. He was a member of the FISA Committee. The FISA Committee is the committee that exempts telecommunications companies from being sued for disclosing private information. So in short, my answer to that question is no. I don't expect Barack Obama to really institute any change. If he was to institute change, true change, much like a guy by the name of JFK we know, he'd be shot. And that's about as honest as I can be. All you have to do is look at his financial backers who backed him. Well, the same people that backed him backed George Bush. The same people that backed him want these rules and laws into place. So that he's not going to change those rules and laws. The thing about Barack Obama, and don't get me wrong, I mean, he's very charismatic, some might say hypnotizing, when he speaks publicly. He's a constitutional lawyer. There's a lawsuit right now before the Supreme Court of the United States by a Pittsburgh district attorney named Phil Burke that is basically saying that, Barack Obama is not legally allowed under the United States Constitution to become the President of the United States because he's not a natural-born citizen. To be a President of the United States, you have to follow certain criteria. Barack Obama has yet to be able to produce a legitimate birth certificate. It has been reported in the media that he produced a birth certificate that said he was born in Hawaii, except for the fact that that birth certificate doesn't match up with all the birth certificates issued at that time, security-wise. Certain numbers are off, stamps are different, and there's a public report that he was actually born in Kenya. So, I mean, there's questions, and in a case before the Supreme Court, trying to show, get Barack Obama just to produce a legitimate birth certificate. So Barack Obama might not even end up as a president of the United States, depending on this case. Now, a lot of people might be sitting there going, well, that's just some cracked right-wing nut who's trying to produce, push this case forward. I urge all of your listeners to look up obamacrimes.com. His name is Phil Burke. He's a former district attorney for the state of Pennsylvania. He's a Democratic National Party member, and he's the head of the NAACP in Pennsylvania or Pittsburgh. So, I mean, this is a really serious lawsuit. And, Barack Obama is a constitutionally educated lawyer. So I don't think he's going to bring change, because if he was going to bring change, when he went into the committee, the first thing he would have said is the Patriot Act 100% completely violates every aspect of the United States Constitution, thus it's illegal.
Well, it seems like anyone who would actually want to make serious changes would be taken out right away. It seems that throughout history that's happened, and except maybe in Bolivia, Evo Morales. I think he's pretty courageous in a lot of what he's done for his country. But it seems like in the States and elsewhere that whenever anyone would want to make real changes, somehow they're not able to do that, to achieve that.
No,
so I agree with you about Barack Obama.
Well, exactly. And I mean, if you look right now, Hugo Chavez has stood up and said no. Fidel Castro, for the longest time, stood up and said no. I mean, what people need to understand is what really is the root of all problem. And the root of all problem is the central banking schemes that has been set up around the world. It's called the money lenders. It's called the people that lend you money. And that is the problem. And they are so powerful that they silence the people who say no. Andrew Jackson beat them. Andrew Jackson was the president of the United States. He survived multi-assassination attempts on his life. Andrew Jackson has, right on his tombstone, I beat the bankers. So one person is not going to beat this problem. One person trying to do it publicly within the system is just a pawn in the matrix. What needs to occur is the 6 billion people around the world need to wake up. And the only way that will start is because you have 300 million in the United States and you have 34 million in Canada that say no. I mean, you can't expect the people in Africa are going to stand up to the system when they've been oppressed and had to deal with genocidal conflicts, for the last hundreds of years. They're not going to be able to do it. They're starting to do it in South America. The people in Asia are saying enough's enough. China is saying enough is enough. Russia is saying enough is enough. Brazil is saying enough is enough. They call it the BRIC, Brazil, Russia, India, and China. It's a very powerful group of nations that will probably be the next world leaders in terms of power. But they are saying enough. So one person cannot do it within the system, but a collective group, we're more powerful than them. They're not going to come to all our houses and throw us in their KBR or FEMA camps. And that's, I think, the mentality that people need to wrap around their head. We cannot put our blind trust in the politicians. They have a job to do. They have people who paid them to get in that position, to pass laws on behalf of them. We didn't pay them to get in the position. We didn't fund their campaigns. What we need to do as people is we need to take back our democracy. We need to have more people willing to stand up in municipal elections, the average person, the guy next door, the common person, the guy next door, to say, yeah, I'm running, and go door to door and say, this is why I'm running, because I'm one of you, and we want change. And we need people to stand up. We got to get rid of these career politicians and have more people run, and not be afraid of the media scrutiny, because the media scrutiny is the propaganda wing. And until that happens, we're going to have the system perpetuate. So we need more people like Reg, and we need more people like Alex Jones and Alan Watt, and DJ Ball from We Are Change, and Maud Barlow from the Council of Canadians. We need more of those people to stand up and not be afraid of the repercussions that's going to come for standing out and speaking out. Because the repercussions is going to be there. But if we're all afraid to stand up, then we're allowing this to take place.
Well,